The hall was too bright for human eyes. Ethan Ward raised a hand to block the white and blue lights, but it did not help. The alien palace was built from crystal stones that glowed on their own, every corner shining like a star, and every sound echoing across the massive chamber like thunder. Ethan felt his heartbeat shaking inside his chest. He had seen alien warships, alien soldiers, and alien generals. But this was different. This was a hall built for royalty, and he did not belong here. He was a soldier from Earth, nothing special, just a tired human who wanted to go back home. But instead, he was standing inside the selection hall of the Caethal Empire, surrounded by thousands of alien women from different species. They stood in long lines, silent, watching him with curious, confused, and sometimes angry eyes. Ethan felt sweat on his neck. He had no idea why he was here, or what these aliens wanted from him just 1 hour earlier. He was told something unbelievable. The High Council of the Caethal Empire had declared an ancient tradition. According to their law, a captured warrior must choose a bride to seal peace. If he refused, he would be considered a threat and executed. If he agreed, he would be treated as royalty. Ethan thought it was a joke, but no one was laughing. The alien guard simply pushed him toward the massive doors of the hall and said, "Choose any bride, human, now." He stood frozen, unable to understand how his life had turned into a nightmare or maybe a dream. He was surrounded by hundreds of alien women, some tall, some short, some with glowing skin, some with wings, some with scales, some looking almost human, and some looking very dangerous. One alien woman hissed when he looked at her. Another whispered something that made the group around her laugh. Ethan tried not to panic. He reminded himself to breathe, one slow breath at a time. "Walk forward," one of the guards said, his voice deep and metallic. Ethan had no choice. He stepped forward, his boots echoing on the shining crystal floor. The sound of his footsteps felt too loud, too human, too alone. The hall seemed endless, and every eye in the room followed him. The silence felt heavy, like the whole galaxy was waiting. Ethan stopped in the center of the hall. The council stood in front of him, dressed in silver armor and long robes. Their eyes glowed like cold fire. One of them spoke, "Human, you may now choose your bride." Ethan blinked. "Choose," he whispered, his voice cracked. "Yes," the council leader said. "Point to the one you wish to marry, and she will be yours." Ethan felt the world spinning. How was he supposed to do this? He did not know any of them. He did not even know their species. He did not want to marry anyone. He wanted to go home, but he was a prisoner, and he could feel the tension rising in the hall. If he refused, things would go very badly for him. He looked to the left, then to the right. The alien women stared at him like hunters watching prey. Some looked hopeful, some looked bored. Some looked ready to kill him. Ethan felt his throat tighten. He closed his eyes, his hands were shaking. He whispered to himself, "Just pick someone. Pick anyone." And then he lifted his arm, and he pointed randomly in the crowd. The hall exploded with sound, not loud but a loud gasp. A sound of shock, a sound of fear, a sound of disbelief. Ethan opened his eyes slowly, and he wished he had not. His finger was pointed at the one person he should never have chosen. The alien who stood alone, wearing a long black ceremonial dress made of shifting stars. Her silver eyes glowed like moons, her hair moved like liquid light. Her presence felt powerful, dangerous, royal. He had pointed at Princess Lysera Caethal, the only daughter of the Galactic Empress, the most feared princess in the galaxy, the one whose name was spoken carefully by warriors and leaders, the one whose temper was legendary, the royal who could destroy armies with a single command. Ethan's face turned pale, his legs shook. He wanted to faint around him. Thousands of aliens fell to their knees instantly. The guards dropped their weapons in shock. The High Council stared at him like he had just set the palace on fire. No one moved. No one breathed. The princess slowly lifted her gaze. Her silver eyes focused on Ethan. He expected anger. He expected a shout. He expected death. Instead, she smiled. It was a small smile, but it felt like a storm. She stepped forward gracefully. Every alien in the hall bowed even lower. Lysera's voice was soft but sharp like a blade. "You human," she said, "have pointed at me." Ethan could not speak. He felt frozen in place, like gravity itself was holding him down. Lysera stopped in front of him, her height almost equal to his, her presence overwhelming. She leaned slightly closer and whispered, "Interesting choice." Her smile grew a little wider. "Unexpected?" Then she said the words that changed Ethan's fate forever. "You picked me, human, and now you are mine." The hall trembled as her voice echoed. Ethan felt the weight of the entire galaxy fall on his shoulders. He had made a random choice. But it was a choice that shocked every star, every planet, and every living being who heard the story, and it was only the beginning. Asterisk. The guards escorted Ethan through the shining crystal corridors of the palace, but this time no one dared to touch him. Their steps were slow, careful, almost respectful, as if they were walking beside a dangerous ancient relic. Ethan did not understand why everyone looked so afraid. He was only a human soldier, lost, tired, and confused. But after what happened in the selection hall, no one looked at him the same way. Choosing the princess had created a storm inside the empire. His random gesture had touched royal blood, and royal blood was sacred. Ethan felt like he was walking through a dream, or maybe a nightmare. The palace walls shimmered. The lights shifted like flowing water. Strange alien symbols glowed softly on the floor. He tried not to look nervous, but his hand shook uncontrollably behind his back. At the end of the long hallway, two massive doors opened on their own, revealing a private chamber filled with soft white light. The guards stopped outside and bowed deeply, refusing to enter. Ethan swallowed hard. Princess Lysera was inside, waiting. He stepped forward slowly. His breath caught in his throat the moment he saw her. She stood near a floating window made of energy, watching the stars outside. Her black ceremonial dress shimmered with tiny lights, as if the night sky itself was wrapped around her body. Her silver eyes reflected galaxies, and her long hair flowed behind her like cold fire. Ethan felt small, like an insect standing before a goddess. Lysera did not turn when he entered. She spoke first, her voice calm and smooth. "Do you know what you have done?" "Human," Ethan forced his voice to work. "I made a mistake," Lysera slightly tilted her head. "Still looking at the stars, yes?" she said softly. A mistake witnessed by the entire empire. Then she finally turned toward him, her gaze sharp enough to cut through steel. "You pointed at me," Ethan tried to speak again, but words tangled in his throat. Lysera slowly walked toward him, her step silent, her expression unreadable. "You could have chosen anyone," she said. "Anyone except me." She stopped just inches away from him. "And yet, you pointed at the Princess of Cathal." Ethan took a shaky breath. "I didn't know who you were. I just closed my eyes for a second." Lysera's expression changed. A flicker of amusement. Curiosity? Something softer? But it vanished quickly. "Humans close their eyes when they fear," she said. "Interesting." Suddenly, the chamber doors slammed open. A group of alien nobles entered, all wearing shimmering robes and holding ceremonial staffs. Their eyes burned with anger. One of them pointed at Ethan. "Princess, this is unacceptable. A human cannot choose you," another shouted. "This is an insult to the crown," a third added. "The marriage law was never meant for royalty." Lysera raised her hand, and the entire room fell silent instantly. The nobles lowered their heads in fear. She stepped slightly in front of Ethan, protecting him without saying a word. This shocked everyone in the room. Even Ethan blinked in disbelief. Lysera's voice was cold. He made a choice, and the law is clear. One noble stepped forward, trembling, but princess. "He is a human." Lysera's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Yes," she said slowly. "He is." She stepped closer to Ethan, placing herself at his side, "and his choice is now mine." The nobles fell silent. None dared to argue, but their anger filled the room like smoke, whispering quietly among themselves. They exchanged sharp glances. Ethan could feel their hatred. He knew the alien nobility was planning something. His choice had insulted them deeply. And now they wanted revenge after the nobles left. The chamber grew quiet again. Ethan stood awkwardly, unsure whether he should bow, sit, speak, or simply disappear. Lysera turned to him, her expression unreadable. "You are not what they expected," she said. "And you are not what I expected either." Ethan raised an eyebrow nervously. "Is that—" Good Lysera's lips curved into the smallest smile. "For now," she said. "But this palace is filled with enemies." She walked back to the glowing window. "Watching the stars quietly, many will try to harm you. Because they believe you stole something from them?" Ethan felt fear twist in his stomach. "What did I steal?" he asked. Lysera's eyes met his again. "Glowing like silver fire me," she said softly. Ethan froze, unsure how to respond. Lysera continued, "From now on, you stay close to me. You do not walk alone. You do not speak alone. You do not even breathe without thinking first." She stepped closer to him, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Your random choice has started a political storm. And storms destroy whatever is weak." Ethan's chest tightened. He wondered if he could survive this place. He wondered if he could trust her. But Lysera added one more thing. Something that surprised him. "Do not fear," she said. "I protect what belongs to me." Her hand brushed lightly against his wrist. A strange, warm energy spreading through his skin. Ethan felt a strange calm for the first time since entering the palace. He breathed without shaking, but he also knew one thing, clearly now. His random choice had tied him to the most powerful princess in the galaxy. And nothing would ever be the same again. Asterisk. Ethan woke up the next morning in a room that did not feel real. The bed floated slightly above the floor. The sheets changed temperature on their own, and the walls glowed softly like living crystal. He touched the surface and felt it pulse gently under his fingers. Almost like a heartbeat, this was the princess's palace chamber for guests. But everyone knew this room had never been used for any guest before him. Ethan tried to take a deep breath, but the fear from last night still sat heavy in his stomach. Before he could gather his thoughts, the door opened silently. 3 palace attendants entered. Their faces covered with silver masks, they carried strange weapons and small glowing devices. Ethan took a step back, unsure if they were guards or assassins. One of them spoke in a calm voice. "We are here to prepare you for the day." Human Ethan raised a hand nervously. "Prepare me for what?" The tallest attendant placed a black wristband on his arm. It clicked into place instantly, sending a light electric shock that made Ethan gasp. "That is a life binder," the attendant said. "It connects your vitals to the princess if you are harmed." "She will know." Ethan blinked in surprise. "She wants to protect me?" The attendants exchanged quick glances. As if they didn't know how to answer that, finally one whispered. "She protects what is hers." Ethan didn't know how to feel about that sentence. Proud, scared, confused, or something else completely. Before he could ask more questions, the attendants bowed and left him alone again. Minutes later, a loud knock echoed through the chamber. The doors opened, and Princess Lysera entered. Ethan straightened immediately, trying not to look as overwhelmed as he felt. Lysera walked with quiet confidence, her long black and silver robe dragging behind her like moving shadows. Her eyes studied him carefully. "Your first day as a chosen consort," she said, "and already the palace whispers your name." Ethan rubbed the life binder on his wrist. "Is that good?" Lysera tilted her head slightly. "For some, yes," she said. "For others, it is a reason to kill you." Ethan's throat tightened. "Thank you. That makes me feel so much better." Lysera's lips curved into a tiny smile. Good fear keeps humans alert. She beckoned him to follow her. Ethan walked beside her through long, glowing corridors. Every alien servant they passed bowed instantly, not to him, but to Lysera. Yet their eyes flicked toward Ethan with curiosity, jealousy, or hidden rage. Ethan could feel the tension growing everywhere he walked. "They really hate that I chose you, don't they?" he whispered. Lysera replied softly. "They hate that you were allowed to choose it all." When they reached the royal council chamber, 2 massive guards blocked the entrance with crossed spears the moment they saw Lysera. They stepped aside instantly. Ethan followed her inside. But everything stopped. The nobles, dressed in shimmering robes, stared at him with disbelief. Some looked offended, others looked amused, and a few looked ready to attack him right there. A noble with blue skin stood up sharply. "He does not bow," he snapped. "He shows no respect," another added. "A human stands beside the princess without kneeling." Unforgivable. Ethan felt his jaw tighten. He did not bow. Partly because he did not know their customs, and partly because he refused to kneel to someone just because they wanted him to. Lysera glanced at him, her eyes unreadable. "Do you choose not to bow?" she asked him softly. Ethan took a breath. Yes, the entire room erupted with noise, angrily shouting, accusing, threatening. Lysera raised her hand, and the room fell silent instantly. She turned to Ethan, her voice sharp but calm. "Why?" Ethan stood taller, refusing to look small in front of them. "Because bowing is something I do by choice, not by force," he said. "I respect you, princess. But I won't kneel out of fear." The silence was sharp enough to cut through the air. Even Lysera looked surprised for a moment. A human in the royal court had spoken like an equal. As if he belonged here, the nobles stared at him. Shocked, insulted, and confused, Ethan waited for the punishment, expecting guards to drag him away. But instead, Lysera turned to the council and said, "Good." The nobles froze. Lysera continued, "He is human, not Cathalian. He follows his own customs." She stepped closer to Ethan, standing at his side. "His honesty is worth more than empty obedience." The anger in the room simmered, but no one dared challenge her. She was the princess, and her word was law. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the far side of the chamber. A throne guard rushed inside, panting. "Princess," he shouted. "There was an assassination attempt last night outside the human's room." Ethan felt his heart stop. Lysera's expression darkened. "Show me," she demanded. The guard lifted a hologram, showing scorch marks and shattered crystal where a hidden device had exploded. Ethan felt cold fear creep up his spine. Someone had tried to kill him while he slept. Lysera's eyes glowed with icy fire as she turned toward Ethan. "I warned you, human," she whispered. "The palace is filled with enemies." Her voice lowered, almost dangerous. "But they will learn something today." She stepped closer, her silver eyes burning. "You chose me, and now I choose to protect you." Ethan felt a strange warmth spread from the life binder on his wrist. For the first time, he realized that the princess was not just dangerous, not just powerful, but also committed. He was no longer just a random choice. He was now part of something bigger, something deadly, something royal, and the whole palace would soon understand why humans should never be underestimated. The palace alarms echoed through every corridor, sharp metallic tones bouncing against the crystal walls. Ethan felt his heartbeat match the rhythm, fast, scared, ready for anything. Guards rushed past him, weapons glowing, scanning every corner for danger. The assassination attempt from the night before had shaken the entire royal court, but it had angered Princess Lysera more than anyone. She stood in the center of the strategy chamber, her robe flowing like moving smoke, her silver eyes glowing with a cold, controlled fury. Every commander, general, and advisor stood silent around her, none daring to interrupt her thoughts. Ethan stood slightly behind her, unsure if he belonged in this room. But Lysera had ordered him to stay close, and so he stayed. A tall general stepped forward. "Princess, our scanners detected energy signatures from the Varak clan," he said. "Only they use shadow mines like the one near the humans' chamber." Murmurs filled the room instantly. The Varak clan was known for political violence. They hated the royal bloodline and wanted control of the throne. Lysera's voice was like ice. "They dare attack inside my palace." Ethan felt a cold chill run through him. He had never seen her so furious, yet she stood with perfect calm. As if her rage was a weapon she kept tightly controlled, another officer spoke. "Princess, the Varak assassins may still be inside the palace." Lysera turned to Ethan. "Stay behind me," she whispered. Ethan nodded, though fear twisted in his stomach like a knife. Suddenly the chamber lights flickered, then went dark. Only the glowing royal crest on the floor remained bright. A deep, echoing hum vibrated through the walls. Ethan recognized that sound immediately. "That's a jammer," he whispered. Lysara's eyes narrowed. "They are here." A blast of dark energy shattered the far wall, sending fragments of glowing crystal across the room. Alien nobles screamed and ducked. Guards rushed forward with shields raised, and from the smoke stepped 3 shadowy figures. Their armor was black and sharp, their eyes glowing red like burning metal. Ethan could feel their killing intent from across the room. One of them pointed at Ethan. "We take the human," he hissed. "He stole the princess's future," another added. "Kill him, and the insult ends." Ethan took a step back, but Lysara stepped in front of him instantly, her hand raised. "You will not touch him," she said, her voice low and filled with power. "The assassins laughed, Princess," the leader said. "You cannot fight us all." Lysara's eyes glowed brighter. "Watch me." The assassins attacked first, moving with impossible speed. Lysara's energy shield flared to life around her, absorbing the first wave of strikes. Ethan stumbled back as a blade of dark light sliced the air where he had stood just seconds earlier. The palace guards fought hard, but the assassins were faster. Stronger and more ruthless, Ethan saw one assassin slip behind Lysara, raising a poisoned blade aimed at her spine. Without thinking, without planning, he moved. His soldier instincts took control. He tackled the assassin from behind, slamming both of them to the floor. The alien hissed, claws scraping Ethan's arm. Ethan ignored the pain and grabbed the assassin's wrist. Forcing the blade away, Lysara spun around, shocked to see Ethan wrestling with a trained killer. "Ethan!" she shouted, but he didn't stop. The assassin threw him across the floor. Ethan rolled and barely avoided another strike. He grabbed a broken crystal fragment, sharp as a knife, and used it to block the next attack. His arms shook from the impact, but he did not fall. Lysara unleashed a blast of silver energy. Knocking 2 assassins back, guards swarmed in to contain them. But the one fighting Ethan did not stop. It lunged again, faster and stronger than before. Ethan dropped to his knees, ducking the blade, then pushed forward with all his strength, slamming the assassin into a support pillar. Asterisk, asterisk. The alien hissed in pain. Giving Lysara a perfect opening, she raised her hand, releasing a surge of silver fire that wrapped around the assassin like living chains. The creature screamed as the energy tightened, then collapsed on the floor, defeated. Silence filled the chamber for a long moment. Guards dragged away the unconscious assassins. Nobles whispered in shock, and the jamming device collapsed. Restoring light to the palace, Lysara turned toward Ethan, her expression unreadable. He stood breathing hard, bruised, scratched, but alive, and more importantly, he had protected her. She stepped closer, her voice softer than he had ever heard it. "You saved me." Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead. "You saved me first," he said quietly. Lysara stared at him for a moment, her eyes softer than ever. Then she touched his face gently, a gesture no one had ever seen from her. "You are not weak," she whispered. "Not at all." The council members stared in disbelief, unable to understand how a simple human could stand against alien assassins. In that moment, something changed in the palace. Something changed in Lysara, and something changed inside Ethan too. He was no longer the human who pointed randomly. He was now the human who fought for the princess, and the entire galaxy would remember this day. Asterisk, the palace was quiet after the battle. Too quiet. Ethan sat on the edge of a floating medical bed while healers placed glowing patches on his arms and ribs. The pain faded slowly, replaced by a warm, tingling sensation. He could still hear the echoes of the fight in his head. The sound of crystals shattering, the hiss of enemy blades, and Princess Lysara's voice calling his name. He never thought his life would look like this, yet here he was. A human soldier sitting in the heart of an alien empire. Lysara entered the healing chamber silently. The guards bowed instantly, stepping aside to give her space. Ethan tried to stand, but she gestured for him to stay seated. "Do not move," she said softly. "You are injured." Ethan looked away. "Embarrassed? I'm fine." Lysara raised a brow. "Humans lie badly." She stepped closer, her eyes studying every bruise on his arms. Every cut on his skin, Ethan had seen her angry, powerful, fierce, commanding. But now she looked different, softer, almost worried. The healers bowed and quickly left the room, leaving Ethan alone with the princess. Lysera placed her hand on his wrist where the life binder glowed. "When you fought that assassin," she said quietly, "I felt your heart stop for one moment." Ethan blinked in surprise. "You? Felt that?" Lysera nodded. "The life binder connects our energies," she said, "when you are hurt. I feel the echo." Ethan looked at her with new understanding. "So when I saved you," he said. "You felt that too?" Lysera's eyes softened. "Yes," she whispered. "I felt your courage." She looked away for a moment, her silver hair falling over her shoulder. "No human has ever fought for me before," she added. "Not like that." Ethan smiled slightly. "No alien princess has ever stood in front of me like a shield either." Lysera gave him a rare, quiet laugh. Something only created for him. Then she grew serious again. "The council meets in 1 hour," she said. "The attack from the Varrock clan has changed everything." Ethan frowned. "Changed what?" Lysera took a deep breath. "Your position," before he could ask. The doors opened, and a messenger bowed deeply. "Princess," he said, "the High Council requests your presence." And the presence of the human, Ethan's stomach tightened. "They want me there." Lysera nodded. "They cannot decide your fate without you." She extended her hand. And Ethan hesitated for only a second before taking it. Her grip was strong and warm. Together they walked through the palace halls. Every servant they passed bowed deeply. But this time, Ethan noticed something different. There was fear in their eyes. But also respect, maybe even a word, had spread quickly. The human who chose randomly had fought assassins and lived inside the council chamber. The nobles stood in a circle, their expressions tense. The moment Lysera entered, they bowed, but their eyes flicked toward Ethan with mixed emotions. Envy, shock, confusion, even admiration. The council leader stepped forward. "Princess Lysera," he said. "The court must decide the future of this human." Lysera's voice was sharp. "His name is Ethan Ward." The leader nodded stiffly. "Very well," he faced the room, "by tradition. A chosen bride accepts or rejects the warrior who picked her." Ethan felt his breath catch. Lysera did not react. She simply stepped forward. Every movement filled with confidence and fire. "I accept him," she said. The chamber exploded with whispers. Shock, disbelief, and arguments. The council members raised their voices angrily. "Princess, this is madness," one shouted. "A human cannot stand at your side." Ethan felt heat rise in his chest. But he said nothing. Lysera's eyes narrowed sharply. "He already has," she said. "He stood against assassins while your guards fell back." Another noble protested. "He is still human." Lysera stepped closer to Ethan, her voice strong enough to silence the entire chamber. "He is brave, loyal, and honest," she said. "He is everything a royal consort should be." Ethan felt his chest tighten at her words. She was not just defending him, she was claiming him. The council leader lowered his gaze. "Then by law," he said slowly. "Your choice becomes the will of the Empire." Lysera nodded. "It does." The leader turned to Ethan. "Ethan Ward of Earth," he said. "Stand before us." Ethan stepped forward, heart pounding. "The princess accepts you," he continued. "You are now bound to her by law and by oath." Lysera placed her hand over his. The life binder glowing between them. "You chose me randomly," she whispered. "But I choose you with full clarity." Ethan felt something he could not name. Fear, respect, awe, connection. Maybe all of it at once. "If I had to choose again," he whispered, "I'd still point at you." Lysera smiled. A real smile, bright and powerful. "Good," she said softly. "Because now you belong to me." The council bowed. The lights of the chamber brightened, and the whole empire felt the shift. The human, who once stood alone in fear, now stood beside the most powerful princess in the galaxy. Not as a prisoner, not as an accident, but as her chosen partner. And the story of Ethan Ward and Princess Lysera became a whisper across every star system. A story of fate, courage, and one random choice that changed the galaxy forever. Asterisk.